Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show, Guys on Sports. Week 5 is in the books. We look ahead to Week 6. We're hunkering down here in Central Florida for the oncoming storm. So, unfortunately, we can't be in studio, but I got the guys on the Zoom, and we're going to break down everything we can for Week 6 to try to set you guys up while we try to survive. Mark, Rocky, what's up, guys?
Oh man, just trying to stay alive out here.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. The branches are rustling already. There's a faint mist in the air. Mother Nature's coming hard for me.
Oh wow. Okay, well it's good to hear from you guys. Before we go any further, we want to give a shout out to our partners, Chalkboard. Chalkboard is 24/7 fantasy advice. We have a nice community of over 300 members that are in our chat there. You go in there, get some good info on any trades or roster moves you want to make. You could also bump into one of the guys from the show there. But it's just a nice little place, and Chalkboard's got all the stuff you need to place your game time decision bets, all your little prop bets that you're looking for. And it's a pretty intuitive app. It's going to get you where you need to be, give you your scores. It has a nice ticker down there in the bottom and the top of the screen. Mark, have you been using Chalkboard lately? How is it?
Yeah, been using Chalkboard a little bit. Fantastic community. They're primed for the crossover though. I think come over to Patreon.
Yeah, come over to Patreon and become one of the guys where you're going to get full body review of our fantasy info.
Full frontal.
So that's full frontal. That's Mark starts and sits. That's going to be Rocky's weekly list by position of players and where he has them ranked. That's going to be my best bets. That's going to be the place where you can talk to us an hour before kickoff to get any information you need to set your lineup and win the day. All right. With that being said, I think it's time, boys. It's time for the pledge. You guys ready?
As ready as I can be.
Is Rocky here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hats off, Rocky. I pledge allegiance to the draft
and fantasy
football
punishments.
Destroying my friends. Cooking the chat. 7 hours. Commercial free. The witching hour. With liberty and red zone for all. Wow. Man, I'm sure that came out great.
That was terrible.
That was piss poor, even for you guys.
That was terrible. I almost want to pretend like I'm having phone troubles now and log off.
Yeah, that would be fun. All right, so the fantasy pledge is in the books. Maybe, just maybe, we splice in the audio from the actual last show and not have people listen to that. But yeah, we'll get into our first section of the show, and our segment is going to be called Wiretap. And we debuted this section last week. It's not unlike any other fantasy show with their waiver wire section, but what we do is we just highlight our favorite wire pickup of the week and our favorite or the waiver wire pickup that we think is not going to really return what you're looking for from that ad. So I'm going to try to keep this civil here, and we're gonna pitch the guys individually. Mark, I want you to give me your number one waiver ad this week.
All right, mine's pretty straightforward. It's simple. You got the crybaby out in Vegas. Once out, he was seen on that wide receiver documentary from last season, saying that he was getting killed and he needs to get the hell out of there. That's continued over to this year. Where there was smoke, there was fire. Devontae Adams is currently being sought in a trade right now from multiple teams, from multiple sources. So you need to go out and get yourself Trey Tucker. Tucker looks fantastic. He's got a ton of targets. And what I really love about this is that they have given him quite a few running plays too. That to me means that he is a dynamic playmaker and they want the ball in his hands. This is a team that's been pretty lackluster up until recent. especially at the running back position, which we'll highlight later as well. And right now it looks like Brock Bowers and Trey Tucker are the two emerging as the legitimate threats for this offense.
Rocky, your thoughts?
Yeah, hard to punch holes in this one. Every team tries jet sweeps with their players. Most teams fail miserably, and that speaks to just how fast Trey Tucker is. I don't know that I've seen a wide receiver run with more abandon and get to the outside quicker. He is a rare talent where he can catch passes and he can also run too.
Okay, all right, Rocky. Who do you got as your number one ad?
So I'm going to go a little bit counterintuitive here because he will not be able to help you this week, which may allow you to get him very cheap. And I know in a lot of leagues, we're dealing with budget constraints. And sometimes you're having to overbid for somebody like Trey Tucker. But who you could get is Ty Chandler. Him and the Vikings are heading into a bye, so he's not going to help you this week. But it's worth noting that Aaron Jones picked up an injury. It's a hip injury, and reportedly he's going to be week to week. And so that offense is trucking. They look good. And I think that Ty Chandler is going to have, at the very least, a bigger role in the offense.
Yeah, I don't hate the Ty Chandler pickup. I was all against him coming into the season, but yeah, everything you said there makes sense. The only thing I worry about is that offense has looked the last few weeks, especially in the second half of games, look like maybe they're getting figured out a little bit. I do trust that coaching staff, Sam Darnold and company, to get it figured out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant. There is another guy running back on the waiver wire I'm going to mention, and more by default, I think, just because of what's there right now. But my number one waiver ad is going to be Tyrone Tracy, who I talked a little bit about in the preseason, and I think we mentioned him last week with Singletary possibly missing time, and lo and behold, Tyrone Tracy got a crack at the starting role, and he impressed. So Tyrone Tracy had 18 attempts, just about 130 yards, only 2 targets in the receiving game, but that's kind of an earmark of the Dable offense. They don't really target backs a lot. But I think the surprising thing here is that Singletary looked okay, but Singletary did put the ball on the ground, I think, 3 times early in the season, at key moments, and Tyrone Tracy just looked better. Tyrone Tracy has some jump in his game. Singletary, steady hand, and when he comes back, I don't think that. I think you have to let Tracy touch the ball after what he's shown you. Vision, he has that burst when he sees the hole, and he can break some big runs where Singletary doesn't really give you that. So I think it's an easy ad. We're talking about a guy that can easily have 50% of the carries and more if he continues to be effective. Mark, you look like you have something on your mind.
I don't know. I mean, I like the ad. I like the Tyrone Tracy. Dable, I fear that Dable rides the hot hand. They didn't go out and get Singletary for no good reason. And there's a third back there, Earl Grey T. Man, he looked pretty good too. He had quite a few catches for like 60 or 70 yards. He looked pretty decent as well. I liked him all in college. I liked him how he's been playing in the pros thus far. I mean, if they decided to, they didn't pay that much for Singletary. If they decided to cut ship, I think they'd be just fine with those two backs remaining.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on the Singletary thing. I think they did bring him in. I think they brought him in because Dable had him in Buffalo and he knows him well, and they needed some stability at the position with Saquon going out of town. But they took a chance here on Tyrone Tracy, grabbing him in the third round. a year after they drafted Eric Gray, mind you, who was already in the building. So I'll just tell you from watching both of the guys and seeing Eric Gray last year, Eric Gray's a solid backup running back. He's very straight line, not a lot of dynamics to his game, and yeah, he did have a couple plays popped, specifically one catch that really kind of skewing the game log here. But Tyrone Tracy, from the eye test, is the guy that you want in this backfield, and I'll stand on that.
So you're saying Eric Gray is the Danny Dimes of running backs?
I'm saying that Danny Dimes is probably outperforming everybody on the podcast or formerly on the podcast quarterback right now. So I think we leave him out of this.
I would agree with Phil. I think Tracy's the guy to get. I do like Gray, and I do think that Singletary, that's always been his knock, is that he puts the ball on the ground. To be honest, if the Browns were functioning at all as an NFL team, he could have cost you the game. And I think they're going to ride the hot hand. Tracy is a better wide receiver than he is as a running back. And that's saying a lot because he's been pretty good as a running back. So I think he's your closest thing to Saquon Barkley right now on the Giants team.
That's fair. All right, Mark, who do you think is the most overrated waiver ad this week?
Most overrated. Did we all do? We all did our guys?
Yeah. Rocky, you said your guy, right, Rocky? Yeah. Ty Chandler, Trey Tucker.
Right. I zoned out. Completely zoned out. All right. I'm going to keep it in Vegas. There's going to be some people that are probably going to rush out, with all the injuries happening in the league and the bye weeks. They're going to see some big numbers put up last week by Amir Abdullah in that Raiders backfield. That backfield is a friggin' mess. Zamir White, Alexander Madison, Amir Abdullah, all subpar running backs, all with subpar performances, and they're going to ride the subpar hand. Whoever's doing the most mediocrely is going to be the guy who gets the most touches. I mean, it's crazy. You're just, those stats are going to pop off where Abdullah had like a 14-point fantasy game and people are going to flock to him on the waiver wire. It's not going to happen again. Stay away.
So you're saying it's a good old mid-off.
It's definitely a mid-off for sure.
Rocky, what do you think about that? You buying stock in Amir Abdullah what year? Are we in year 6 or 7? What year is it?
Yeah, I think he's been in the league maybe longer. He was drafted by the Lions, right?
Yeah.
No, like that was,
he was
2016. So it's been a while.
Talk about some preseason pop, Amir Abdullah.
Yeah.
Guy was just bagging groceries most recently.
Hey,
wow,
it's a respectable job.
All right, Rocky, who is your most overrated waiver ad of the week?
So this is going to sound weird because he's coming off his career best performance on a primetime stage, but I'm going to say Jalen Tolbert. If you didn't get him last week, you're probably going to try to get him this week. But again, it's not that I think he's a terrible player. I just think that you're going to have to way overpay for him. And I don't think Dallas looks great. If we're being honest, they barely beat the Steelers. They beat a dysfunctional Browns franchise. In the other 2 games, they've looked okay. I think they beat the Giants pretty well. But I don't love their offense. I don't love Dak Prescott. Even in a win, he threw a couple of costly interceptions. I think it's still the CeeDee Lamb show. I think number 2 is Jake Ferguson if he's fully healthy. And so I don't hate Tolbert, but I think there's better receivers that you could pick up. And Mark's already mentioned one.
Yeah, I agree. For the record, I will correct you. They beat the Giants by 5 points.
It was a beating. Yeah, it was a beatdown. I remember that. It was bloodied.
Yeah, it was. They were beat up bloody.
And I can't
I'm on the same page.
I don't think Dallas continues. we all read CD's lips on the sideline. That was a great pep talk to Dak. I think he said, "Hey, buddy, keep your head up. We got this. We're looking good. Go out there and throw some TDs to our boy Jalen Tolbert." CD seems like a real stand-up team player type of guy. I think Dallas corrects this and gets back on track and manhandles this division for the rest of the season.
Yeah, them and Philly. All right.
I think Jaden
All right,
Daniels
so
has something to say about that.
all right. Sorry, I cannot clear these allergies. All right. So I'm staying in the great state of New York, and my don't add of the week is going to be Darius Slayton. So Darius Slayton coming off a huge performance, 22 fantasy points for you if you happen to press that button this week. But the only thing I mean, here's what I say about Darius Slayton in a nutshell. If you have the roster space, I don't think it's the worst ad if you're not relying on starting him. If you're maybe holding him to see, I think he can be a nice flex fill-in here and there, but he's not going to give you what he gave you this week. Here's the thing to point out: Malik Neighbors was out. Obviously, his snap percentage only went up about 8%, but his targets jumped from about averaging 3 a game to 11. So that's not going to continue with Neighbors on the field. But it does show you if he's in a spot or somewhere down the line, he is capable. So I guess this is a don't add with a asterisk. Add if you don't need him, but don't add him expecting to start him next week and get the same production.
How long is Neighbors out for? Do you know, Phil?
Well, he was in concussion protocol, and he had 10 days, just about 10 days between Thursday and Sunday. So by next week, it should be about 17 days. I'd imagine he's active next Sunday. If not, then I'd get a little bit worried.
Is this still the Darius Slayton that was drafted by the Giants like 15 minutes ago, or is this the son?
No, this is the same one. Same one. He's actually
Jeez.
been their leading receiver in the last 6 seasons. So
That's ridiculous. How long has he been there? Since like 99?
I think he was drafted the same year as Jones. Yeah.
Julio Jones?
Yeah, Julio. I always love when Mark says funny stuff, don't you?
What a 1-2 punch.
Hey, watch your mouth, Deshaun Watson. Wish I had Baker Mayfield.
I do not wish I had Baker Mayfield.
You know who does have Baker now is former Giant legend Sterling Shepard, who found pay dirt this past weekend.
Yeah, good for Sterling. Sterling is one of those guys that I'll never hate, unlike Saquon Barkley. Happy for Sterling Shepard that he found a home down here. All right, so on from Wiretap, we're going to our favorite segment. Well, our new favorite segment, which is Fantasy Prime Time. Fantasy Prime Time. The boys are just going to pick a game that they think is going to be chock full of fantasy fun and is going to, be just a place where there's a lot of fertile ground for points to be grown. We'll each pick a game. Once we pick a game, we will draft 2 players from the game, and we will see who does best. But I don't know. Did you record the points from last week, Mark, or did you not?
Yeah, we each won one.
We each won one game?
Yeah.
All right, so going forward, we're going to keep track of the points. So we'll start with Mark. Mark, what is your fantasy primetime game for week 6?
All right, we're going across the big puddle to our 9:30 a.m. game in good old London, England, playing on the pitch that Ronaldo made famous. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Don't fact check that. I'm not a real big soccer guy. We're going to go with the 9:30 game. That is the Bears and the Jaguars. The Jaguars coming off that hot run by their backup running back, keeping them out of the total winless column. And Chicago, who's, goddamn, man, they look like a dynamic powerhouse. That quarterback that they drafted, I swear, man, he looks like a 10-year veteran already. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I think Goodell already put the Lombardi Trophy in Hollis Hall. So This is the game that we're highlighting this week.
This week. Yeah, that's right. Mark's a little excited about his Bears, so bear with us if he can't get his words out. But we'll start to the right of Mark, which is Rocky. Rocky, you have the first pick here. Who are you taking from this game?
This one is easy, and as always, we're in week 6, so you're checking injuries, making sure that they're up to speed. But if he's playing, you draft DJ Moore. Simple as that to me. I think Caleb and him are starting to find a little bit of camaraderie, figuring it out together. And I think DJ is the best receiver on the field on either team. So I'd go DJ Moore.
And for the record, we're not taking quarterbacks, right? I forgot to mention that. No quarterbacks in this little exercise. Okay, good. I like that. I feel at number 2 here, it's a little bit of conundrum for me. I want to go running back here, but there's 3 to choose from for me in this game. And I think because of what I've seen out of Rashawn Johnson for the Bears, I'm gonna fade. I'm gonna fade DeAndre Swift here, and I'm gonna go with Tank Bigsby. Much like the hot hand riding Dable, as you mentioned, I think Doug Peterson's seat is hot, and I think he has to ride the hot hand with Tank Bigsby, who I think at this point we just have to say looks better than Travis Etienne. So Tank Bigsby is going to be my guy. I think they continue to feed him the rock and try to make things easier for Trevor Lawrence.
Did you call him Tanks Bigby? Did you just turn him into a Dave Chappelle character?
But
I could have. Did it sound good?
It did.
Compared to what he called him last week, where he couldn't get the name out at all, that was a huge improvement.
Hey, he's a tongue twister for me, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Mark, who you got?
That's Rocky.
I thought Rocky went.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
went
because I
first.
already wrote down my pick. Never mind.
Yeah.
DeAndre
Mark,
Swift. I mean, you're an idiot for passing on him at 2.
Mark, I think
All I
you
gotta
should
say. Roshan vultured 2 touchdowns, but both of those drives, I get not everybody watches the game. I'm partial. Both of those drives were highlighted by huge DeAndre Swift plays. The first one, he was a little bit gassed after he got down to the goal line because they rode him pretty hard for like 4 straight plays. And the second time they tried to reward him, and he couldn't get in, and then he took the next play off, and that's when Rashawn capitalized both times.
I know. I seen it. Okay.
Well,
I'm a Swift owner. I'm a Swift owner.
Well, then you saw how dynamic Swift was, and they finally are utilizing him correctly.
That's fair, but he did get vultured twice, and I don't know that doesn't happen again. I was very upset. Both times.
Tell me about it.
All right, Rocky. Who's your next pick?
I'm going to go to the other side I'm going to go away from Chicago, and I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr. Jacksonville is looking better. It was a good victory last week. They looked like a competent team, and Trevor looked like a decent NFL quarterback. He's streaky, but when he gets hot, he gets hot. And I do think Brian Thomas has looked the part. If it wasn't a year where we had Neighbors and we had Harrison that come out and look so good, I think we'd be talking about Thomas a lot more too.
Okay.
Yeah, another terrible pick there. Jalen Johnson's going to shut him down. Brian Thomas ain't going to do shit.
All right, thank you for that, Mark.
I can literally hear you getting erect, Mark. I think the Bears are. Come on, they're the Bears.
I like how you said that, and Phil just had to shush somebody.
Well, I mean, Mark, you're not supposed to be
earmuffs.
This is a show, Mark. Don't call attention to what's going on, okay?
Earmuffs.
When your wife walks in there and hands you the Tupperware of Chef Boyardee, we don't all say, "Hey, Mark's about to eat." Okay, so don't do that to me.
Oh, is that what she did? She She DoorDashed you? She brought you some food?
No, no, she just walked in.
What are you
All
what are you
right,
eating?
so
Chicken noodle soup?
I'm not eating anything. I'm trying to talk. Shut up. All right, so this is tough, man. Mark, I need some help here. I'm having trouble deciding between Keenan Allen and Roma Dunze. Target share looks the same now that Allen's back. Um, yeah, I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go with the vet. I'm going with Keenan Allen here. I'm gonna
Okay.
trust that, they try to get some more targets his way, get him more comfortable in the offense.
There you go. That's a solid pick right there. I actually already had him penciled in on my team because I didn't think you were going to take him there. Keenan Allen, he is coming off of that heel injury. They're trying to work the ball to him. He is their underneath guy. He is the security blanket for Caleb Williams. I do think going across the water there, there might be a little bit of jet lag. Maybe not quite so many dynamic plays. I think he's going to look for Keenan Allen underneath a bunch this week. Very good pick. That makes me pivot. I would like to take another bear. Would like to go either Roma Dunze or Cole Kmet. But I am going to hedge my bets here, and I will go with the other running back. I am going to go with which one is he? Is he Trevor or Travis? Travis Etienne.
Travis Etienne.
I'm going to go with if Chicago has had one weakness so far this year, it has been against the run game. I don't think Bigsby supplants Etienne as the starter, and I think if Etienne can exploit a couple of big holes early on, I think Etienne will probably get the lion's share of the carries. So I'm just going to hedge my bet there and possibly concede the fact that Etienne might stumble into the end zone once on Sunday morning.
Okay. It's very big of you to do.
Did you see it? I just had to choke back vomit.
Yeah, it was tough.
Admitting that.
All right, so on from that game to the next. Rocky, you want to tell us what your fantasy primetime game of the week is?
Yeah, we are going to stick with my team, the Land, and we are going to decide who is going to score a ton of points this week with Cleveland Browns versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles. And this is why I am focusing on this game, because everything in me says it should be an absolute ramrod of a victory for the Eagles. Wow. But that's not how the NFL works. The NFL is a temperamental beast. There is more parity than you think in the NFL. And so I think this is a surprise game. I think the Browns are going to look better than they have all year, especially if Nick Chubb and Njoku are both on the field together. And so that's why I wanted to highlight this game.
This what is the opposite of a barn burner? Is it like a barn erector? Because that's what this is going to be. This is going to be a goddamn snooze fest. This is going to be way to highlight the worst game of the week.
Yeah, because the Jags and the Bears. That's everybody's clamoring to watch that cesspool of a shit show.
I guarantee.
All right, so it's my pick. All right, guys, come on, right? My turn. My pick.
Bill's alarm's already going off. He's got his alarm set for that game Sunday morning.
My turn. All right, so 1-1. I hate to do it. I really hate to do it. I really hate to do it more than anything in my life, more than anything else. I'm going to have to take Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley with the #1 pick here.
Because he's the best running back in the league, Phil? Is that why?
No, he's not. No,
because he got appreciably better after leaving New York.
Did he?
He did.
Looks taller too. He looks more in command.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's got a good relationship with his GM now. How he
what's the All right, you guys, you want to make your pick? Mark?
They're not talking about bringing in Devin Singletary to replace him.
You ready?
All right. So I guess I'm number 2 here, right? Well, I don't even know who to take because I think half of the birds are injured. Are we considering Jalen Hurts a running back? Because we all know that he can't play the quarterback position. So is he
No,
in
he
play
can't.
here? God damn it. I don't know if
No,
A.J.
he's
Brown
not.
plays. I'm assuming A.J. Brown does. I don't know if Devontae Smith is playing. I'm assuming he is. But I guess you can't win fantasy games on assumption. So I'm going to have to take Amari Cooper.
So AJ Brown is expected to return Sunday.
Yeah, he's going to be shit anyway.
All right, Rocky, who do you got?
I can't believe Mark left him for me. AJ Brown is playing. In fact, they could have played him last week or the week before the bye, but they held off knowing that the bye was happening to give him one more week of rest. I would normally say Denzel Ward would absolutely keep him in check, but Denzel Ward has a slight injury and he's on a very limited count. And when you replace him with Emerson or Greg Newsome, neither has looked as good as they did last year. I think AJ Brown is going to feast this week.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, I can't argue with that. I'm going to take his running mate, Devonta Smith, who is expected to return. The Browns defense, as I said the last 2 weeks, secondary is banged up, and they don't look like the Browns from last year. So give me Devonta Smith, who's averaging 9 targets a game.
Yeah, I think the only pass catcher that's actually going to make any kind of headway in that game for the Shitbirds is Dallas Goedert. So I'm going to take Dallas Goedert with my second pick.
Right.
Dallas Goedert, huh?
With my third pick, if I knew for sure that Chubb or Njoku were starting, I would probably take Njoku, but I don't. And so I'm going to take a receiver that dropped a sure touchdown last week, who's been in the mix and has been targeted a fair amount, and that is Jerry Jeudy. I do think that with Deshaun Watson settling with another victim, that he may, God forbid, get his damn head in the game for a change. But I think Jeudy could have a decent game.
I
Don't
thought you were
hate
going
that.
David Bell.
Oh wow! So David Njoku is getting an MRI.
Yeah, he injured his knee. It looked kind of rough, but he was walking the
Not
sideline,
good.
so there was hope. And we do not have another tight end. We're down to Jordan Aiken, and we picked up a guy off waivers.
It's hard to have tight ends
So,
in the same building that Deshaun Watson walks.
oh wow!
Baby cradle.
All right, I feel like I'm handcuffed here. Mark, who did you take?
Phil, you already got your two.
What are
So
you gonna take a third player?
we're moving on
Did
to
I
your
take 2 guys already?
Yeah.
Devontae Smith and Saquon.
Oh yeah, I'm all eagled up. Look at that. Oh well, all right. Sorry.
You need to apologize to your fan base. That's disgusting.
This is fantasy, Mark. You got to pick players that you don't like sometimes to win. It is what it is.
The hell you do.
All right. Did you make your pick too, Mark? Did I miss that?
Dallas Goedert.
Okay, yeah. There is a fury of activity going on behind me, so please excuse me. All right. So moving on, we'll go to the third and final game we're going to highlight in our fantasy prime time, and that is going to be the showdown in Maryland. We're going Commanders at Ravens, and I think this one is just chock full of names. So many guys to pick here, and I really like the. There's just so many places to go. I feel like the wide receiver course for both of these teams are still kind of like, who's it going to be this week? The quarterbacks are dynamic, so that's why I picked this game. I think the overall score will be pretty high. And I think it's interesting to see what this Washington team does in the big spot here. So who went? Mark, you haven't had a first pick yet, right?
Right. It's
Right.
cute
So
that you're giving the receiver some credit. I'm taking the only player worthy of taking in this game, and that is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is going to run an absolute train on that Commander team.
There's no need for that.
He might go for 300.
Okay, well, I wasn't trying to be cute. I'm just mentioning that there's a lot of question marks, I feel like, with these receiving cores. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Obviously, Derrick Henry's the guy that comes out of your mouth first. But we're deeper than that on the show, right? We dig in a little bit deeper.
Nope. I'm
Nope.
okay with going. I'm okay with going top shelf. You know what I'm saying?
No. You go top shelf, but we got to mention the other guys. All right, Rocky, who's your pick?
I'm a little bit worried about this because I do think he'll be on a pitch count. But I don't like any of the Baltimore receivers a ton. And I'm worried this week about Washington, their receivers going against the Ravens secondary. So I'm going to take Brian Robinson. And I'm hoping that he's healthy enough to regain the lion's share. He runs angry, and I think he's a touchdown guy.
Okay. That's not a bad pick. And I agree with you. I'm going to be a little wary of the receiving room in Baltimore. But when I just get down to it, I think I have to stay there because you took Brian Thomas. I'm going to go with Zay Flowers just by default, 12 targets last week in an overtime game. So, let's say he gets 9 to 10. I'll roll with that and see where it gets me. I want to stay away from the Washington receivers this week.
Yeah, I think I kind of want to avoid Washington altogether. I'm torn here between Rashad Bateman and Isaiah Likely. I think I am going to go with the latter, and I am going to take Likely, who I believe scored twice last week.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's a focal point of this offense right now.
All right, Rocky, who you got?
Bill, remind me, who was your pick?
Zay Flowers.
I took Zay Flowers.
Yeah, so I will gladly take Austin Eckler as
Damn it. You took him.
I feel like even though I got Robinson, I think Eckler looked the most like Eckler that he has for 2 seasons. Now, again, that was against the Browns, and they looked like they gave up last week. But again, I love Scary Terry. But I made a comment last podcast about Jaden Daniels, and my comment was, I believe the hype. I think he's going to be really good, but I saw him go to his first receiver too often. And I kind of called out Caleb Williams as being a good quarterback and having looked like he's worked through his progressions more. And I think we saw some of that last week. I focused on Jaden Daniels that entire game because there was nothing else worth watching. Jaden Daniels has an amazing first step. Maybe the best I've ever seen. He is instinctual. He knows how to get out of the pocket. He is an accurate passer, but he consistently goes to his first read. And he just got lucky that the Browns suck. So that's why I stayed away from the receivers, and that's why I'm picking Eckler here.
Yeah, I don't hate that. It's getting pretty thin.
You got to do it, man.
So I'm
Mark
going
Andrews.
to. No, I'm not taking Mark Andrews. So I'm taking the tight end on the other side of the football or the other side of the field. And I'm going to go with Zach Ertz, who has not been impressive thus far, but last week he did have 8 targets. For some reason, he was only able to bring in 2, which just doesn't seem like very Zach Ertz to me. But I'm going to hope that the trend of the targets continues and just kind of play on the opportunity here and crossing my fingers he winds up in the end zone at some point. I do know that the Browns their linebacking core is pretty decent in coverage, right, Rocky?
Yeah, they are, and that's one thing I'll say. They were going to Ertz. He just looked very slow last week, but part of that is because JOK is maybe one of the best linebackers in the league. And then they mixed in a couple other guys, Devin Bush being one who looked pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, that's our fantasy primetime games of the week. If you go to our TikTok at GON Podcast, we will be posting our picks for the other games on the slate this week. So don't forget about that. We had some pretty decent interaction on them this week, but we're hoping to get more. So go there. We'll tell you who not to start, who to start, and sound off in the comments if you disagree or if you need explanations why. Uh, but that being said, we're going to get right into our very last segment of the show, which is Single Digit Saloon. And
Pew, pew,
if you
pew.
haven't seen it before, I like that, Mark. It's beautiful. It's nice. Uh, we're basically picking one of your fantasy studs or a guy that's ranked pretty high coming into week 6. And we're going to tell you basically, we're going to tell you he's scoring in the single digits. Now, last week, I know my single digit saloon guy wasn't in the single digits. So I'm 0 for 1 on that. I don't know how you guys did, but we're going to hope to be a little bit better this week. I know, at least speaking for myself.
I forget who I took last week.
Well, I took George Pickens and I was dead right. And I hated it because I took him. And then I had to start him in a bunch of my fantasy leagues, and he was every bit as bad as I thought he would be.
I want to say I was right just because it's usually a trend that tracks. But I can't remember. I can't be 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure I was right.
All right. So I will start because I don't start any other segment. But as I alluded to earlier, I'm trying to stay away from the Washington receiver room this week, and that starts with none other than Terry McLaurin, who's in the single digits room for me. Terry McLaurin last week he had the huge catch on what was a great play by Jaden Daniels, but it still wound up only netting him 11.4 fantasy points. He was targeted 8 times. He was only able to bring in 4 of those targets for 112 yards, which the bulk of it was on 1 reception. I think that this matchup is going to be tough for Washington. Baltimore's defense, passing defense specifically, hasn't been great, but I think this is one of those games. It's a big spot. John Harbaugh knows what he's doing, and I just think that that Washington offense is not going to look great. And for a guy that's getting targeted 8 times, bringing in 4 of those for a pretty low yardage per reception outside of the long one, I think it may be a quiet day for Terry McLaurin.
You know what? I'm just going to piggyback and go second right after you here, just because while they're down, let's just keep kicking them. Those Commanders are going to have a tough road to hoe this week. Everyone's making a lot of noise about Jaden Daniels this, Jaden Daniels that. He hasn't played a team yet that has above 1 win, from my understanding. So Jaden Daniels, for whatever it is, the reason why I'm hating is because there's so much comparison, as there always is online. Everyone's saying Chicago took the wrong guy. It should have been Jaden Daniels. No, it shouldn't have been. And I think we're seeing why. And in the future, we're definitely going to see why. No slight to Jaden Daniels, but I just don't think that he's in the same league as Caleb Williams. That being said, I don't think he's going to be able to do much. I don't think he's going to be able to do much through the air against this Baltimore defense. And they're going to lean on the run. And guess what? The run ain't going to fare much better. Rocky's not going to like this because I know he just took him with his first pick. But Brian Robinson is going to be drinking alone in the single-digit saloon.
Wait, so hold up. I'm sorry. You just spent a whole minute before you even said there's a little bit of emotion in there, buddy.
Yeah, man. I don't like
That Jaden. There's some Jaden Daniels hate. You said no slight, and then you really slighted him.
No, Leave my quarterback's name out your mouth. You can say whatever you want about Jaden Daniels. Don't compare him to the number 1 pick in the draft and tell us that we didn't draft the right guy. All right.
Well, there is no comparison. It's just, he's outperforming Caleb.
We're triggered though. We're triggered. We are triggered when you say that, right? Because we did. We made a bad pick. We took Mitch Trubisky ahead of Patrick Mahomes, right? So what do you think I want to relive that shit? No, I don't want to. We also took Justin Fields. Look how that turned out for us. All right. So if you want to trigger a Chicago Bears fan, tell us that we took the wrong goddamn quarterback. This time, I finally get to punch back, and hopefully, I'm just going to keep kicking these jerks while they're down because guess what? We finally did take the right guy, and he's better than Jaden Daniels, and he's better than Drake May, and he's better than whoever the hell else is rookie quarterbacking out there. Oh, suck it.
I just don't think.
Right, so I think what we could take from that, I do agree it's going to be tough sledding for Washington. Mark's in his feels, and he's a little bit biased on this one. So take that with a grain of salt. Rocky, who is your player that's in the single digits wrong?
Hey, man, things got right. Things got right today in the New York Jets facility. Aaron Rodgers named the official coach of that team. It should be this guy, mighty Aaron Rodgers. It's clear that Saleh was the cause of Rodgers' issues. And so Rodgers is going to flat ball out this week. Bryce Hall is going to go to the moon. Garrett Wilson looked at him and said, "Hey, idiot, what are you doing throwing to a 38-year-old man? Get the ball to me." So in the single-digit saloon is going to be Alan Lazard. This guy is not that good, and he's been getting these receptions out of desperation because Rodgers didn't know who to go to, and he recognized only one person because he was out, doing ayahuasca in some hut somewhere and didn't practice. But this is the week where Alan Lazard shows who Alan Lazard really is, which is a subpar receiver.
I think he showed that last week. He had 3 solid drops. I mean, in the breadbasket, wide open. One of them would have gone for a score. Alan Lazard is a turd.
Single-digit saloon for Alan Lazard, and he's probably drinking a Natty Light.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which reminds me,
okay.
My single-digit saloon was it was Breece Hall last week, and I believe I was right. I think Breece Hall did score under 10 points.
That was a good call.
That was all the coach's fault. It's done. Rodgers is about to be Green Bay Bear killer. Rodgers absolutely, kissing your wife and smacking your daughter. It's happening. Rodgers is blowing up this week, Mark.
Right, listen, but that's that.
He lays a
First of all, Rocky,
my daughter. He's gonna have a lot more to worry about than shitty secondhand ayahuasca. All right, and subpar wide receiver force dropping touchdown passes. You come near my daughter, Aaron Rodgers, I double dog dare you.
Rocky, do you think you could say anything the right way?
What did I say wrong?
Salah, you said wrong.
Wait, this is a man
who said Salah
with the word tank. And you're going to
no, it wasn't tank. It's Bigsby. But Salah.
Tank is like cat.
Salah, you couldn't get Salah. Then you also said Bryce Hall. And then you said Ayahuasca.
No, I said ayahuasca. I mean, I said that right. Listen, you want to know what? You want to know why Salah got fired?
It's not Salah.
Sula, whatever the hell. You know why he got fired? He wore a Lebanese flag on his shirt on Sunday, and I'm telling you, that stuff don't play very well in the New York State. So that's why he got fired, man. Rodgers.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
He just kind of guided it. He probably said, "Hey, did you see what he wore?" That was it. So
not a lot of baloney fans in New York, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Oh wow. All right. Hey, so guys, everybody, calm down. All right, so that's the single digit salute. If you like that and you like us, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Make sure you're commenting under here and you're checking us out on all your socials. We're at G1 Podcast. on Instagram, and more specifically on TikTok, where you can find us doing our lives every Sunday morning. We're giving you live, by the minute responses to your fantasy questions, and we'll also direct that to Patreon the hour before kickoff. You can catch us anywhere you listen to podcasts at Guys On Network, where we have our other show, Guys On Draft. So check that out as well. And please, please, please like and subscribe and hit that bell. We love you. See you next week. Peace.